Howdy folks, hope you're all having a good one, and welcome back to World of Warships with Rear Admiral Jingles, where we have something slightly unusual for you today. This is a Tier 10 clan battle. The star of today's show from the 5 Delta clan is Blazon6199, and his clan are fighting for dominance, which is appropriate because it's a domination battle here on the Northern Waters map, against a team made up of members of the PhD and PHPL clans. Since it is a clan battle, you can probably expect a higher than average level of teamwork on display here, since they all know each other and they're probably on voice comms. Blazon's ship is the premium tier 10 pan-European, which basically means Swedish destroyer, the Smaland, sister ship to the tech tree Halland, although with some significant differences. Whereas the Halland tends to be a fairly effective, in fact a very effective, jack of all trades, the Smaland tends to focus on its guns. Mostly because the torpedoes, they're not bad, but they're definitely not as good as the Hallands. For a start, it has a weird torpedo tube arrangement. It has 2 launchers, but one of them has 3 tubes and the other one has 5, and also, well, they're basically the stock Östergötland Tier 9 torpedoes, which again, they're not bad. They're just not as good as the Hallands. They're fairly typical high-tier Swedish torpedoes. Very fast with a speed of 76 knots. Good range, 12 kilometers. Pretty quick reload, 100 seconds. It's just the individual damage is kind of bad. 10,400 damage per shot. And then, of course, you have to factor in the target's torpedo damage reduction. So you're probably not going to be killing an awful lot with the torpedoes. But, well, like I said, they're not bad. They just don't do a hell of a lot of damage. Where the ship does stand out, however, well, aside from the fact that in common with many of the other pan-European or Swedish destroyers, it doesn't get a smokescreen, but it does get surveillance radar. And the guns are excellent. Which is surprising because it only has 4 of them in 2 turrets. But what it lacks in numbers, it makes up for in sheer gun performance. These turrets take less than 8 seconds to swing a full 180 degrees, and the guns have a 1.7 second reload. The high explosive shells only have an 8% chance of setting a fire on target, but with the sheer volume of fire that these things are capable of spitting out, the Smaland is a very, very effective little fire starter. The firing range isn't great though. Again, it's not bad, 11.45 kilometers. But that can actually work in your favour in a destroyer, because it means if you are firing the guns, you can only be spotted by anything within 11.45 kilometers. So if there's one ship closer than that that's spotting you, if you can kill it, it's very, very easy to go undetected again. Like the Z42 over there. Bad luck Brenny. His name is going to be You'll see. No spoilers. Yeah, the Z42, old Bad Luck Brenny, is definitely not coming off best in this engagement. The Z42 is a good ship. There's nothing wrong with it. But that is a lot of fire heading in his direction. And the reason why he's getting lit up by, well, everything is because of how Blazon's team have split at the start of the match. They've only sent 1 ship, the Christopher Columbus, down to Cap Circle Charlie. Everybody else is coming up here mob-handed, determined to take this cap circle at Alpha. Blazon hasn't exactly gotten away scot-free, of course, but there's significantly more fire heading in the direction of Bad Luck Brenny and the Z42 than there was heading in the direction of Blazon. He needs to go undetected here, though, because, well, it looks like Bad Luck Brenny's had a bit of good luck. He's managed to survive. He only had 176 health left, but hey, that's technically 175 more than he needs. And they've got the caps. 2 of them, in fact. Good start. Unfortunate that they couldn't finish off poor old Brenny. He did extremely well to survive that. He was basically fighting in the shade. It was the shells being fired at him were blotting out the sun. But he has managed to survive. He's just going to have to play the rest of this battle extremely cautiously. Now, because this is going to be important, you can see that Blazon has the radio location skill, indicated by this corona, which is about to change direction. That's pointing towards the closest enemy ship. He doesn't know what it is, he doesn't know how far away it is, he just knows that it's in that direction. And given that there's a Salem 10.6 kilometers away, whatever it is closer than 10.6 kilometers. It's probably Bad Luck Brenny in the Z42. However, there is a Salem slightly more than 10 kilometers away, and the Salem has radar. Now, as the sister ship to the Des Moines, the Salem has a couple of things going for it. It has a much better heel, but it has kind of like the bargain basement budget Walmart version of the Des Moines radar. It has a sub 10 kilometer range, so it'd be a good idea to keep the Salem more than 10 kilometers away, if at all possible. Note that Bad Luck Brenny appears to have made good on his retreat, probably burnt the engine boosters. He was noping the hell out of there, because the radio location finder is now pointing in the direction of what looks like the enemy Kremlin on the other side of the island over there. So Blazon, I mean, he's still going to have to be careful about Bad Luck Brenny, because the Z-42 and the Smarland basically have the same stealth. So while his attention is over here, no, he's on the other side of the island. Yeah. And there's his smoke screen. Yeah, that's him. Alright, well, we know where he is, so we're not about to be outspotted by him. As Blazon is sneaking up in order to get these torpedoes away, and this may be a calculated decision, but he does get spotted by the Marseille as he strays to within 6 kilometers. Now, he knows that Bad Luck Brenny over there is inside radar range, comfortably inside radar range actually, so he uses it, and then beats a hasty retreat, hoping that the Marseille is going, and it looks like he is, going to sail straight into those torpedoes. He is spotted, getting shot at by both the Marseille and the Salem, but only the Marseille was close enough to spot him. And with the elimination of the Marseille, he has once again gone undetected. That's actually the first casualty. We're more than 5 minutes into this game before anybody's died. It's clan battles for you. So that's a useful first kill. The team are now more than 200 points ahead, and they still control 2 of the cap circles. Unfortunately, the friendly Kremlin then makes a colossal error of judgment, coming out around the corner of an island, broadside on, in front of an enemy Kremlin, who was loaded for bear and waiting for him to do exactly that. The team are still ahead, and yes, the scores are flipped because, you know, World of Warships replay. But that was a loss that they didn't need to take. Meanwhile, Blazon, sneaking up on poor old Bad Luck Brenny here with the radio location skill, pointing straight towards him again, making sure he doesn't stray to within radar range of the Salem, if at all possible. Oh, those look suspiciously like Z-42 torpedoes. It looks like Bad Luck Brenny, however, has abandoned the island, because his spider sense must have been tingling, and is hooking around to the north, up in the direction of where the Salem is. Okay. Well, he doesn't want to get any closer than this to the Salem, because it might just have a Walmart version of the Des Moines radar, but it still has radar. So torpedoes away. Remember, they have a 12-kilometer range. And then peels away, since the Salem is heading in this direction. Trying to keep them guessing. He might actually get a couple of torpedo hits here. Depends which way the Salem goes. I mean, if he continues on that course, the Salem should be able to thread the needle between the torpedo tracks, but if he makes any kind of turns, he might actually... No, he saw them. Ah, well, never mind. That's the thing, though. With a 100-second reload, you can afford to take chances with your torpedoes, because, well, they're going to be back up again very, very quickly. The Salem now, of course, knows that there's a destroyer down here. He's about to find out, though, that there's a Venezia up here as well, sneaking around the island that Bad Luck Brenny was hiding behind earlier. And with the Salem's attention occupied, and with Bad Luck Brenny being unlikely to want to risk revealing his location, Blazon starts lighting up the Salem as well. Meanwhile, down in the direction of Cap Circle Charlie, the enemy Moskva just rammed and sank the friendly Christopher Columbus. Enemy Moskva probably about to die anyway. He was down there at close quarters fighting off not just the Christopher Columbus but also the friendly San Martin, so that was probably a good choice. Cruiser taking out a battleship. I mean, that's a reasonable trade. Hasn't done an awful lot for the scores, however. Now, the Salem is not a bad ship, but if I was forced to take a Pepsi challenge between a Salem and a Venezia, my money would be on the Venezia. However, despite the fact that the Venezia started this encounter with 10,000 more hit points than the Salem, but the presence of those torpedoes would appear to indicate that it's possible the Venezia got a little bit more ambitious than is completely safe when coming around the corner of the island in front of a Salem's 203mm loading armour piercing shells. And though he did take out the Salem with the torpedoes from the other side of the ship, it cost him almost all of his health doing it. Meanwhile, the friendly Moskva has just gone down, taken out by the guns of the enemy Kremlin. In fact, it was a secondary kill. And good old bad luck Brenny, remember, he only had 176 health, but he could not resist the opportunity, and, well, he was wise to do so. Finished off the Venezia from the safety of his smoke screen up there. Which means that the enemy team, even though they are still 200 points and 1 cap circle behind... Yeah, these torpedoes don't do a lot of damage, do they? They're now 1 kill ahead. And it's likely they're going to go more than 1 kill ahead very, very soon, because the friendly Marceau only has 1,300 hit points. I can't tell how many hit points the San Martin has, but he's facing off against a Montana, so he's probably not going to have a lot of hit points for much longer. Sure enough, there goes the Marceau, killed by the enemy Yu Yang, and there goes the San Martin, killed by the Montana. Blazin now cannot afford to take his time, wait for his torpedoes, and finish off the Kremlin. He has to start shooting. That's a very suspicious looking smoke screen though, isn't it? There goes the radar. And bad luck Brenny's luck just ran out. Well, actually luck had nothing to do with it. That was an expertly timed use of radar. Brenny had 3 kilometers to run on 176 health in order to make it outside of radar range, and, well, that was never going to happen. It's still 3 against 1 though. And normally the smart money in a destroyer versus battleship confrontation, especially when the battleship doesn't have radar, or hydro for that matter. However, Blazin doesn't have the luxury of waiting. I mean, the torpedoes are back up because they only have a 100-second reload, but they only do 10,400 damage per hit. And the Kremlin has 46% torpedo damage reduction, so he has to keep shooting. He has to pile on as much damage as possible to take the Kremlin down as quickly as possible, to give himself some breathing space and think about how he's going to deal with the other enemy battleship and the Yu Yang, the destroyer. He's managed to set a fire. I guess he was hoping that he'd fake out the Kremlin's damage control, because even with 3 torpedo hits and a flood, it's not enough. Although the Kremlin is not using the damage control. Okay, well, we'll take it. It's possible that the Kremlin didn't have any damage control left, because Russian battleships get a very, very short cooldown on their damage control, but they get a limited number of charges. Right, 2 on 1. He's got less than half of his health remaining. Still got 1 heal, but he's not going to be able to recover an awful lot. He'd probably be able to get up to about 11,000 hit points. Unfortunately, he no longer has the 2 cap circles. The Yu Yang, I'm assuming it was the Yu Yang, has flipped the cap down at Charlie. Which means that in the 7.5 minutes of this battle remaining, the enemy team are probably going to go ahead on points with that 1 cap advantage. They're only 150 points behind. Looking at the last reported positions of the 2 enemy ships, the Montana and the Yu Yang, although, you know, that was last reported quite some time ago, they could be anywhere by now. But we know the Yu Yang, at least I'm assuming it's him, did just flip the cap circle at Charlie. And the Montana is unlikely to want to take on a destroyer without some destroyer backup of his own, so he may be lurking around waiting for the Yu Yang to catch up. Unfortunately, it's a Yu Yang. It doesn't take it long to catch up. Blazin here anxiously looking at the radio location indicator. He doesn't know which is the closest enemy ship, but it knows which way it is. And whatever it is, it looks like it's steaming straight towards this gap. Hang on a minute, he's actually up to 938, 941 points. He can win this on points. He just has to hold on to this cap circle. Of course, that's going to be easier said than done, because according to the radio location marker, somebody is heading this way. Don't know how far away he is. Don't know whether it's the Yu Yang or the Montana, or probably both of them. But somebody is heading in this direction. Even worse, somebody has the radio location skill on the enemy team and knows exactly where to go to find Blazin, as you can tell by the located marker up here. Whoever's heading this way, however, they're going to need to get here quick, because even though he's only gaining 3 points every couple of seconds compared to the enemy team's 6, he's up to 974 points and is going to win very, very soon, unless somebody on the enemy team does something about it. And that somebody is the Yu Yang. The Yu Yang has radar of its own, by the way, so there's no going hidden here. My question, however, as the poor old Yu Yang is forced to commit to a hopelessly mismatched gunfight that it has no chance of winning, which means this is now a guaranteed win as he sinks the Yu Yang and reaches 1,000 points, and there's the victory. Where was the Montana while all of this was going on? Because he actually started closer to Blazon than the Yu Yang did, and should have been here at least at the same time, if not earlier. But apparently the Montana had better things to do. I mean, it's not a slow battleship, but I don't know where he was or what he was doing that was so important that the poor old Yu Yang was forced to try to take on a Smarland alone. I'm sure Blazon isn't complaining, because if the Montana had turned up at the same time or even earlier, this might have ended very differently, but it didn't. So well done. 2,500 points for all the winners, 250 points for the losers. Clan battle scoring system. Extremely well done, Blazon. And I hope you all enjoyed watching him cling on to victory there, right down to the wire. Because that's it for today. As always, take care, and I'll catch you next time.